Good morning, DFS players. My name's Nick Marro. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS, and I am here for the first time with Occupy Fantasy. Today, I'm going to be going game by game for this 11-game NBA DFS slate on both DraftKings and FanDuel. We're going to try to keep the video pretty quick. I want to give you guys the best plays in each game. We'll talk through injuries, a few pieces of news to look out for. Obviously, NBA DFS, the biggest piece of winning is often those late breaking injury news stories. So we'll keep an eye on that. I'm going to go game by game here. I have the NBA injuries pulled up on Occupy Fantasy. I have our Occupy model pulled up as well. And yeah, I mean, if you guys aren't already subscribers, I highly recommend you get involved. We have a Discord chat full of a lot of bright minds. And yeah, this model here is amazing. We can sort by value for each site. And yeah, it's just a great way to kind of start your builds. And I'm looking forward to getting more involved with Occupy Fantasy. Great team over here. Can't recommend these guys enough. And yeah, let's we got 11 games, so I guess I'm just going to go through and break this down. So yeah, we start with the Pelicans at the Hornets. And another thing I like to keep an eye on as I go through these are the spreads and totals. Obviously, Vegas knows as much, if not more, than we do going into these slates. So something I just like to keep in mind. We're looking at the Pelicans as 6.5 point favorites on the road at the Hornets. So yeah, I mean the big news here was Zion Williamson. He looked amazing in his 2022 debut. A lot of people were worried he would be limited. And yeah, it's frustrating. DK doesn't have the game logs updated yet, but they do have notes, so we can kind of take a look at things as we go through that way. I have FanDuel pulled up as well. Let's see if they're doing any better as far as game logs go. Yeah, they are. And that's good to see. So yeah, I mean 30 minutes, Zion scored 25 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists with 4 steals. I mean, you're not always going to get those 4 steals. Another thing to keep in mind is the Pelicans play Brooklyn. That's my favorite team, but I'm willing to admit their defense is horrible at this point in the season. But the good thing for Zion here today is I don't think he's going to see much better from these Hornets. I think he's going to be relatively low owned. There's just so many good plays on this slate, especially in the upper mid range. So I don't know that you have to rush to get to him, but I do like Zion a lot here. CJ McCollum at 7,300. You'll see as we go through this slate, there's a lot of guards in this range that I like. Terry Rozier, Tyrese Halliburton. I think their prices came up a bit, but it's tough for me to go to McCollum over them with the usage going to Zion and a Brandon Ingram. But if you're playing a bunch of lineups, I think all these guys are kind of in play. But really for me on the Pelican side, it's mostly Zion. I'll check the model here to see if anyone's popping up in a big way. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing to see Zion healthy. Hopefully, he can keep the weight off. I think he can. I mean, I'm not really one to talk. Herb Jones looks like he's getting some love here. I like him. This is one of the guys you're going to need stocks with. You're going to want to see blocks, steals, things like that to get a really high value game out of him. But let's see. How did he look in game one? Yeah, only 18 fantasy points. He had 1 block, no steals. I think on your best nights with Herb Jones, you're getting around 30 minutes, but you're gonna need a steal or two probably to hit value. So something to keep in mind. But I don't mind him as a punt. It's just on such a big slate, it's tough to want to go to a guy like that where you're not really getting shots, you're not really getting assist opportunities. Um, and then we go over to the Charlotte side, and we have LaMelo Ball out. So the first guy I'm looking at on this slate from this game, maybe even more than Zion, is going to be Terry Rozier. And I have a love-hate with Terry Rozier. This is a guy had a lot of hype when he moved from Boston to Charlotte. Really talented player, just maybe never really hit his ceiling. But when he's getting this kind of usage, I think we have to take a look at him. Ball has been a usage monster for these Hornets, and now yeah, it's kind of Terry's show to run. But let's see here. Yeah, I mean, he had almost 40 fantasy points per game. He was around 7,200 last slate. He's up around 77 on both sites now, but I still think he's a solid play. Um, And as you kind of work your way down, I don't mind PJ Washington, but 6,900 is tough to get to. Gordon Hayward, I have some interest in at 5,800. Just another scoring dependent player. Same with Oubre. I wouldn't want these two in the same lineup. I'd be surprised if they both had a really high ceiling game in the same matchup, but I do think either or are probably going to be good. And again, this is one of the higher total games on the slate at 230.5 points. So there's a lot of fantasy goodness to go around. I'll have a lot of Rozier. I'll have some Zion for sure. But yeah, it's a good game to target. Pretty close spread. Two talented teams. I think the Pelicans are going to be really good this year. So them being on the road actually probably keeps this game closer, which is a plus. So moving right along, and let me just double check injuries here. Yeah, guys, I appreciate you bearing with me. Again, this is my first video for Occupy Fantasy. I've been playing DFS for over a decade. You may have recognized me on the leaderboards, DraftKings, FanDuel as Nicky the Eye. But yeah, I love this stuff and I'm very passionate about it. And I look forward to sharing this experience with you. But yeah, I mean, again, we got Kira Lewis and Quentin Grimes out. Nothing really to write home about. LaMelo, obviously, we already talked about. So we'll continue. Again, I tend to get long-winded. I'm going to try to keep these videos short. But let's keep moving right along. We got the Washington Wizards at home against the Chicago Bulls. 224 point total, 1 point spread. Another decent spot to target for fantasy. So yeah, I'm going to use FanDuel a bit more today just because they have the game logs in. It's a little bit easier to talk about as we click through. I also have Popcorn Machine up for those who aren't familiar. This is a great tool to kind of see rotations. If you're trying to see which of these bench guys are actually getting run, who's not only in the starting lineup, but also the closing lineup, I find to be very important. And this might be a good example to kind of bring this up. So I'll bring up Washington's last game real quick. I don't want to spend too much time on this. But yeah, we're seeing Denny Avila start. And he's not necessarily closing. It looks like Will Barton got the closing minutes here. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Just because a guy's starting isn't always a good thing. You want to see them closing as well, because if they get that early run in the first half, that's great. But if they're going to get pulled early in the fourth quarter, then that kind of limits their upside. So that's something I'll keep an eye on. But yeah, let's do the Wizards first here. I don't mind Bradley Beal. His price is down to 8,200. I think he can hit a 40-point ceiling, maybe even 45, 46-ish. So I have some love for him there. Kristaps Porzingis is another guy, obviously, you have to take a look at. 7,800 on DraftKings, 7,900 on FanDuel. Let's see. I'm guessing he's getting some love in the model. He's probably, yeah, I mean, he's pretty expensive, so maybe he's not going to be way at the top. I mean, the thing is on these huge slates, when you're sorting by value, you're going to get a lot of these cheap guys. So if you sort by our index here, it kind of levels things out. You'll see a mixture of value and upside, and there's Kristaps right there. Solid play, 37 on Yahoo I like as well, but under 8K on both sites. Whenever you're getting him under 8K, I think he's a valuable option. And the thing about Chicago, obviously they have Vooch in the front court, but he's not exactly a defensive stalwart at center. So I like Kristaps a lot. Kuzma's fine, just a little bit pricey with Beal healthy. Yeah, Monte Morris, I do think he's a talented guard, definitely underrated. I just don't know that we need to go there on the slate. Where he's sub 5K on FanDuel, I definitely have some interest. Yeah, that's a good price. And I mean, Beal's playing off the ball. Obviously, Westbrook's gone. Ish Smith is out of there. He actually went in the trade for Morris. So I do think Morris is a sneaky, decent kind of value play on FanDuel. 5K on DraftKings, I'm not as excited about. But if you're filling out a roster, if only got 5K left for a guard, I think you could certainly do worse. And then, yeah, Kispert's out. That doesn't change too much for me. I don't mind Rui, but I don't know that he's seeing the usage we want him to. This is another talented player, but it's tough to really get behind him unless he's seeing the looks. And yeah, we see that here. 24 minutes, only 13 fantasy points. I don't want to lean too heavily into this game log. It's one game, small sample size, but the 24 minutes to me is a bit concerning. And then we could switch over to the Bull side quickly. Yeah, the big news is Zach LaVine's still out. This means Ayo Dosunmu is going to see more looks. Alex Caruso should see a bit of a boost. Not always the best fantasy player, but the minutes are going to be there for Caruso. But let's take a look, because obviously with Levine out, he's probably their highest usage player. I mean, the big guy everyone's going to want is DeMar DeRozan, but FanDuel's got his price almost up to 10K now. I still think you can use him. On DK, we're looking at 8,700. That's actually a really good price, in my opinion. This is a favorable matchup. Washington is not a great defensive team. They're going to be playing at a fast pace, pretty high total, relatively speaking. So I like some DeRozan on DK. But yeah, I wanted to see how Dinsumu did last game. Um, I'm just coming back from a work trip, so I did pay attention to these slates, but I'm still kind of catching up on a few things. And man, look at him. 17.6 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 block, 2 steals. He's stuffing the stat sheet. It's nice to see he's actually shooting the ball. I kind of like Dinsumu. I don't know if I like him more than Morris, but these are two guys. You're getting a little bit of correlation here. I don't really believe in stacking in NBA. But yeah, I mean, if this game goes off, it's nice to have the 2 point guards for sure. So that's something you could maybe look at on FanDuel. 5,500 on DK. Again, they're a little bit sharper with their pricing. I don't know that I want to go there. But I would rather go to Dinsuman than Caruso, sorry. Decent punt. Not really ever going to get you too high of a ceiling game, but I think he's viable. Take a quick look at the model, see who is popping here for index. Yeah, DeRozan, obviously. Vooch. Yeah, this is a good spot for Vooch. Maybe not the best defensive player, maybe not the guy you want to carry your team to a championship, but at 7,500, I think he's certainly in play against a soft Washington front court. Take a quick look. 8,100 on FanDuel. Good play on both sides. I like Porzingis. I like Vooch. I like the guards. But the big thing here is obviously that Levine's out, and that provides a big boost to DeRozan. The FanDuel price is tough for me to want to get to, but on DK, I think he's one of the better kind of mid-range pay-up plays. So we'll move into the Spurs at Pacers game. Now let's see what we have here. 3.5 point spread. Yeah, the Spurs might be tanking this year. We'll see. I think they're a little bit better than public perception, and I think Vegas agrees. Only a 3.5 point spread here. 2 0-1 teams. But yeah, there's no more Malcolm Brogdon in Indiana. He is now a Boston Celtic, which means it is the Tyrese Halliburton show. I was pretty baffled by the Kings trading this kid last year. I get that Sabonis was a position in need, but he's one of my favorite young guards in the league. I really see him elevating his game to top tier status. And I mean, he had a good game one, didn't quite hit value at his current price point. But against the Spurs and their terrible defense, I think we can do worse than Halliburton. Same price on both sites. I find that kind of funny. We're seeing that more this year. But yeah, he's going to dominate the usage. He's my favorite pacer by far. It's going to be really tough for me to want to go to many other guys in this game. I don't mind Buddy Hield. He's just so scoring dependent. I'm not rushing to get to him. Mathurin had a huge game one. And he's still only 4,300 on FanDuel. Sheesh. I think we have to take a look at this kid. 27 minutes. This is the type of play I want to see if he closed on Popcorn Machine. So I'll take a look at game flow here. Yeah, he didn't start. He came in halfway through the first quarter. Looked great. And yeah, this is the big thing here, guys. He is closing the game for these Pacers. So that's something we have to keep in mind. He's going to see more minutes than I think the FanDuel pricing algorithm has him for. So he's one of my favorite value plays, first look. And then, yeah, the big news is Miles Turner is going to be out for a week or so, which means we could take a look at Jalen Smith. So Smith had a terrible first half. I played him a lot, and I was kind of panicking, and then he really got it going in the second half. He's a talented player. Certainly his flaws in his game, defensively especially. But, I mean, if you're going to get usage, I don't think we have to worry too much about that. But yeah, I like Smith here. He's listed as questionable. Right knee soreness. I'm guessing he plays. It's not every day he's going to get turned around. If he's smart, I think he tries to seize this opportunity. So I like Jalen Smith a lot. But if he is out, then I think we look down to Isaiah Jackson, who can play forward, but he's also probably Smith's backup at the 5. And let's see. Yeah, Jackson didn't close. Smith did. And then they went small otherwise. But I do think Jackson's going to have to move into the 5 if Jalen Smith is sidelined. So that's a piece of news we have to keep an eye on. But as it stands, Jalen Smith's the play. But if he's out, we certainly could go to Isaiah Jackson. Otherwise, yeah, it's really just Halliburton for me. Halliburton, Smith. I like Mathurin. I like him much more on FanDuel though. 5,500 on DK, maybe worth a look, but not really a guy I'm rushing to get to. Okay, so the Spurs were total chalk last slate. Most of them didn't hit, which happens. But yeah, I like Keldon Johnson. Not exactly an offensive threat most of the time, but he did put up 20 points. I think we're going to have to see him involved more on the offensive end this year. This 7,200 price tag doesn't really get me excited though. I think we're doing better on DK. Yeah, 6,800. I think he's certainly in play. Jakob Poeltl against this front court of maybe Jalen Smith, maybe Isaiah Jackson. I think he's one of the better mid-range center plays on both sides. I'm clicking guys in guys as I go, but I'll probably X a few of them out later on as we come across better plays. But I do like Poeltl here. Vassell, good play, but very scoring dependent, it seems. That wasn't always the case with him, but as his usage climbs this year and he's shooting more, maybe that takes him away from the rim. I don't mind Devin Vassell, but the price doesn't feel great. I think on a smaller slate, I'd have more interest. But yeah, for me today, maybe not so much. Trey Jones, he did get to value in only 24 minutes. It's a bit concerning that he only played 24 minutes. Take a quick look. I got like 6 of these popcorn machine windows open already. But this is kind of giving you guys a look into my process. But yeah, he started, he did not close. Looks like they closed with, was it a blowout? Yeah, I think it was because it was a blowout because we're getting guys like Romeo Langford in there for extended minutes. Um, let's see, what was the final score? Thought it said it on here somewhere. Yeah, let's see. Let me just do this. Spurs, Hornets score. Yeah, blowout. So that's why Jones got pulled off the court. So I think we could go back to Trey Jones actually. Do I like him more than AO? Do I like him more than Morris? Maybe more than Morris. So that's kind of where my head's at. But I like these 5K guards. I mean, there's obviously going to be pay-ups on the slate, but I think that's a good range. Um, just quickly, I mean, we have Jokic on the slate. He's probably going to be a priority for me against the Warriors. So if you can pay down excuse me, at guard in this 5K range, I think you're going to be pretty well off. Um, but let's see. Yeah, 4,900 for Trey Jones. I'll plug him in for now. But yeah, another good game environment. I mean, when you get two bad defenses, that's always a good thing. Which segues into this next game with two of the best defenses in basketball. We got the Celtics and the Heat. Obviously, whenever you're dealing with the Celtics, you got Tatum and Brown to take a look at. Tatum's price is reasonable at 8,800 and Brown at 8,200. I think they're both okay plays here. I mean, the issue obviously is that you're playing against the Miami. Most of these totals we've been looking at have been what, 220, 230? But we're seeing the Celtics and Heat down at 218.5. So this isn't exactly the best game for fantasy. At the same time, this is going to drive ownership down on these plays. So I do think you can take a look at these guys. I wouldn't want both in one lineup for sure, but I think either Tatum or Brown are going to look good here. Al Horford was a bit of a disappointment, I think, in his last game. Let's get over to Boston, Miami Center. Yeah, power forward eligibility makes him more interesting to me. I think a big part of that is that he was dealing with Embiid. But yeah, 13 fantasy points, 23 minutes, certainly cause for some concern. I imagine he must have gotten into foul trouble. And this is something else you can take a look at in Popcorn Machine. Where are we? Celtics, Boston, Boston. Game flow. So yeah, let's take the journey of Al Horford here. So he had his first stint. Personal foul at 8:49. Yeah, so he only had one foul at half, I think. And he closed. So yeah, he just really played terribly. I think he was trying to defend Embiid. Maybe he gets a little more offense here. But on this slate, I'd much rather go to like a Jakob Poeltl. So I don't think I need to go to Al Horford. He's viable. Same with Smart. But again, of all the game environments on this slate, this might be the worst. Jimmy Butler looks okay here. TK fixed Bam Adebayo's price, which is nice because now I don't have to load up on him, and he can't burn me again today. So at 7,100, he's an okay play. Tyler Hero, okay play. Jimmy Butler, pretty good play. If there's anyone on the Heat I'm interested in, it is probably Jimmy Butler. But let's see. Boston injuries, yeah, just Gallinari and Williams. But the reason Horford's popping in models so much is because Robert Williams is out. That also makes the defense a little bit softer. So yeah, Victor Oladipo's out as well today. That should boost Jimmy a little bit. It could boost Lowry a little bit, but again, this is just not a game I'm really targeting. But as I say that, you got to keep in mind that a lot of other folks are going to be thinking that as well. So yeah, we can move right along. I don't think we have to chase anyone there. Yeah, next we have Detroit at New York, and this one should be interesting. I mean, New York plays pretty slow under Tibbs, but yeah, 217.5, 7-point favorites. I mean, first look, I kind of like the Pistons as underdogs, if you're into betting. But yeah, Cade Cunningham was super chalky, and I'm pretty sure he was a dud. 34 fantasy points, not terrible. But at near 8K, I think you need over 40 to feel good. Yeah, FanDuel, you can't sort by team. You're looking at both teams at once. This kid, Jaden Ivey, man, I'm a fan. I think he's really good. I think he's really talented. I want to keep playing him. Oh, not Ivy. I'm thinking of Durant. That's confusing. Okay, there's two Jadens now. We got Jalen, Jaden, Jalen Duran, and Jalen Ivey are both really talented. I really like Duran. If he's going to be playing over 20 minutes, he's one of these guys. His fantasy point per minute rate is going to be so high that I think in tournaments you could take a look. And then Ivy, just while I'm on it, I mean, he went off as well. So this Jaden Jalen combo is certainly something to take a look at. Jaden's minutes are more secure. He is scoring dependent. You're going to need his shots to be falling. But I think at 5,300, you could do worse. And I imagine he's going to be pretty reasonably owned. I'd be curious to see if either of these guys are popping in the Occupy model. I don't think they're going to make the jump into the big top index plays here. But if we look at value, not really seeing them. I mean, the thing is the prices are up, and I think that's probably why, which is fine. That's on DK. FanDuel, Jaden, Jalen. You guys popping yet? No. Sadiq Bey, always a good play. Wide range of outcomes though. Jaden Ivey right there. Yeah, so he's in the range, like in terms of value of like the Halliburton, Hero. So Vucevic, I think on FanDuel, you could definitely take a look at him. But again, it's a rookie, it's a young player, wide range of outcomes. And I swear I'll get these names right eventually. Yeah, Jalen Duran, I mean, if he's only going to play 20 minutes, that's definitely a GPP only play. And I like Ivy, it's just the price is up. So yeah, 6,100 for Ivy on DK, not quite as appealing. Same can be said for Duran. But these are two players to keep an eye on, guys. If you're not playing them today, fine. But if you got League Pass, maybe tune into that game and check out what these guys are doing with Cunningham. This is a really fun young team, one of my favorite League Pass teams. So yeah, something to keep an eye on. But yeah, Cade's viable again. I think he burned some people last time, so maybe we get lower ownership. I prefer Halliburton. I prefer Rozier in that range, but I do like Cade as well. Then let's flip over to the Knicks side. That is not the Knicks side. We got, yeah, we got Randall up top. I'm really not playing Randall much. I think he'll be better this year than he was last year, but yeah, even after that huge game, he's tough for me to trust consistently. I mean, as I say that, yeah, 24, 11, and 6 against Memphis. This is definitely a better matchup at 8K. Yeah, thinking out loud, I think I do have to like some Julius Randle. I just have such a sour taste in my mouth playing him again and again last season, seeing him fail constantly. But yeah, I like Randall here. Jalen Brunson, decent play. Don't really want to pay the 7,100 for him. We have better guards who we've already discussed. RJ Barrett, I don't mind. But again, wide range of outcomes. He's not always going to be shooting the ball. So yeah, if I'm talking Knicks here, I think it's Randall on FanDuel. Don't mind him on DK. There's better centers than Mitch Robinson, in my opinion. Isaiah Hartenstein, I'm pretty sure, had a really good game. And if he's going to see 20 plus minutes, I think as a punt, you can do worse. Yeah, 4,200. He had 31 fantasy points in 40 minutes. He closed. So Hartenstein's a value I think we have to keep an eye on. Do I trust him fully? Certainly not. But yeah, on a slate maybe where we don't have as much value with injuries as we will later in the season, I think you can take a look at someone like Hartenstein. On DK, it's tough because you never really want to use that center slot when you have guys like Jokic on the slate. But yeah, he's not a bad punt at all. And I already have Jakob Poeltl plugged in there. So it's Hartenstein for me, Randall for me, a bit reluctantly. That's really it from the Knicks side. And then I like the young guys, Jaden, Jalen, and Cade over in Detroit. Okay. So did I touch on the total there? Yeah, it's under 220, so probably not the best game environment. And then what's next? Atlanta, Orlando. We got first pick, Paulo Banchero, who went off for Orlando last time out. We're looking at a 223.5 point total at the Hawks, who are 8.5 point favorites. I wouldn't say there's blowout risk here, but there's probably a little bit of blowout risk here. So just keep that in mind. It's tough to really quantify. But I do like Murray again. I mean, 9,500. He went for 60. Trey went for 49. It's tough. I mean, you think back to when the Rockets had Russ and Harden, and they were both playing well. I think there is enough offense to go around for both of these guys to be viable on a night-to-night basis, but you're kind of picking one or the other. I think it's very rare you're going to want to go, oh, yeah, let me get DeJounte and Trey Young in a lineup. I think it's one or the other. For me, I slightly lean Murray, but Trey has the higher ceiling. I'd say Murray is the higher floor. Trey is the higher ceiling. I like both the tournaments, but at the same time, I'm really not rushing to either of them. Let me take a look at the model here. I don't know that I have the best read on Atlanta right now with these new rotations. But yeah, we got Murray way up there. Certainly a strong play. Trey not far behind. So yeah, these are the two guys you're looking at for Atlanta. They're going to dominate the usage all year. Guys like Collins, Capella, they have a high ceiling, but maybe a lower floor than you're comfortable with on an 11-game slate. Yeah, Bogdan's out, but they just have so many wings. It's really tough to kind of pluck which one's going to go off. Let's take a look here. I mean, DeAndre Hunter had a good game. I think he's viable if you want him. Orlando, again, pretty soft defense. Obviously, Collins is okay at 6,100. I don't mind it. Not really rushing to get to him there. On the opposite end, yeah, maybe the rookie of the year this year, we have Paulo Banchero. Awesome game one for him. But yeah, I don't think Orlando's going to be super competitive. But the good thing is when you have a rookie like this, even if you're getting blown out, they still want this kid to get run. They still want to see him get his reps in, get his minutes in. So I think Banchero is someone you could take a look at. Let's see. Yeah, Wendell Carter Jr., there's just better centers for me. Franz Wagner, I think I like him better on FanDuel. I'm guessing he's under 6K over here. Let's take a look. 5,700, not bad at all. I don't mind him there. 6,200 on DK is a little hefty of a price tag for me. Suggs is a good player. Anthony's okay. There's just so many guards I like on the slate. I don't know that I get to them. But yeah, Jalen Suggs 5K. That's certainly tempting. Cole Anthony has an illness, it looks like. Let's double check this if this is popping up on our site here. Yeah, he's not listed on the report right now, but we do have faults out in his 21% usage. But yeah, I'd keep an eye on that, guys. I mean, if Cole Anthony ends up being out, I do like Suggs a lot. I think we have to like Suggs. And then if you're desperate for a punt, you can maybe look at like an RJ Hampton. But yeah, if Anthony's out, take a look at Jalen Suggs for sure. But as it stands, I really only want Banchero here, and I like him better on FanDuel. Good game environment, but I don't know. I could see it getting a little bit out of hand. I like Murray, I like Trey, but don't play them in the same lineup. And then DeAndre Hunter is kind of a more mid-range play I think is viable. All right, next we have my Brooklyn Nets. And yeah, for those who don't know me, yeah, I've been a Brooklyn Nets fan my entire life, back when Kerry Kittles was on the team, Keith Van Horn. When I remember as a kid when we got Jason Kidd, my favorite player growing up, and then the Vince Carter years. So yeah, it feels like we deserve to have this super team after years of enduring guys like Devin Harris and Brook Lopez being our best player. But now I have to deal with all these Ben Simmons memes, and I will not be playing Ben Simmons tonight. I did hear that Kyrie and KD kind of took him in the locker room and said, "Hey, man, like we like that you're being aggressive, but you can't be fouling out. We need you on the floor." Um, no surprises there. So as far as KD and Kyrie go, it's similar to kind of the Murray and Trey situation. I think you can use one or the other, but not both. Let me just sort this again. Yeah, Toronto's a good team defensively, so they're not really popping up that highly. I'm scrolling down a bit, but you guys got to remember this is a 11 game slate, so we're getting 10 on the OF index, which is solid. I like Kyrie here in GPPs only, and then KD's way up here at 12 too. So yeah, two good plays, but I don't know that I'm rushing to them over guys like Jokic on this slate. Certainly not. But they will be lower owned, and I think they're going to have left a bitter taste in a lot of people's mouths after last slate. 2.5 point favorites at home, 226 point total. Toronto good on defense, but they do play pretty pacey. So I like the Nets stars here, not including Simmons. There's going to be a game where Simmons breaks out, and if he's under 7K, then sure, he could win you a GPP. But I don't know. I personally can't pull the trigger yet. Um, there's some value in this game. Royce O'Neal looked awesome um, in game one. But let's see. I'm going to take a look at some of these DK prices, or FanDuel rather. Yeah, Kyrie at 8,600, man. That's a good price. I like him a lot in tournaments on FanDuel. I think KD at 10K is fine. Um, so yeah, Simmons is 6,500 on both sites. They're asking you to play him. I just don't know that I can get there yet. Royce O'Neal 4,800. I'd rather go to like a Hartenstein. Um, O'Neal's going to have huge games, but he's also going to have games in single digits. We saw that with the Utah Jazz. And then yeah, I'll see if there's any value popping up for Brooklyn, but they just got so many bench pieces, and KD and Kyrie really take all the usage, so it's tough to get excited about either of them in that regard. Um, I'm gonna try to speed things up, guys. I know I've been going pretty slow, but yeah, let's move right along to the Toronto side. Yeah, if Harris is questionable, if he's out, that would be a bit of a boost to maybe a Patty Mills. But yeah, I'm really only looking at the stars for Brooklyn. On the Toronto side, I really like Siakam. I don't mind Van Fleet. I think Barnes and Anobi are in good spots as well. Brooklyn plays very fast and they don't play much defense. So yeah, that means all the big skill players for Toronto are going to be in play. That's Siakam, Van Fleet, Barnes. I think of that group, I like Siakam the best. If Brooklyn's soft anywhere defensively, it's certainly in the front court. Van Fleet looks good. He's probably going to be low owned, but there are so many guards in that range I like today. I don't know that I can get there. I like Barnes at 6,600. Nick Nurse has these guys playing tons of minutes, I imagine. That's kind of been his MO. Yeah, they're all pushing 40 minutes a game. OG looks good here. Barnes looks good here. Don't mind Gary Trent even. Yeah, Toronto, maybe one of the best teams on the slate to target just because Brooklyn plays so fast and they don't really play much defense. This is a game with a close spread, pushing a 230 point total. So yeah, Raptors today in GPP, certainly a place to look. Okay. And another interesting situation where we have two studs. We got Towns, we got Gobert in this Minnesota game, hosting Utah, Gobert's former team. Um, yeah, I'm not one to really preach revenge narratives. I think it's kind of funny, but it wouldn't be surprising to see Gobert show well in this spot. But yeah, guys, I'm from the school of never looking too deeply into revenge, because if you're not trying in the NBA on in every game every night, then you're probably not going to last long anyway. So for me, yeah, don't look too deeply into that. Personally, I wouldn't. Um, but yeah, we saw Towns kind of take a back seat role to Gobert in that first game. I don't know if that's going to continue. Um, But yeah, 9K, if he's not shooting the ball as much as we're used to seeing, then that certainly could be an issue. Anthony Edwards looked decent. I don't mind him in tournaments, especially at 7,500. That's cheaper than we're used to seeing him. Obviously, there's more usage going to Gobert this season. Um, but yeah, I don't mind Edwards at all here at 7,500 as a tournament play. Wouldn't play him in cash. 7,800 on DK, another reasonable price. Yeah, Gobert at 9K on DK, I just can't do it. At 8,600 on FanDuel, okay, maybe, but there's certainly blowout risk in this spot as well. I wouldn't mind going to Towns as a lower owned play here if people are going to Gobert, chasing the game log, chasing that revenge narrative. Um, just speaking strategically, I think Towns makes sense from that angle. But yeah, I mean, one player I'm really interested on the other side is going to be Colin Sexton. He's taking over this offense now. They still have Mike Conley, but obviously Conley's not really shooting constantly like we will see from Sexton. Sexton should assume kind of that Donovan Mitchell role. No, I don't think he's as talented. But at 5,700 with a very high usage rate, I think he could do worse. And yeah, obviously Minnesota's better in the front court defensively now. But around the perimeter, I still think opposing teams should be able to get shots up against guys like Edwards and D'Angelo Russell. So Colin Sexton is a punt. Don't mind him. He's not really a punt, but I don't mind him as kind of a value play. But yeah, not my favorite game environment, really. 228.5, though. That's pretty surprising. I just guess I have to kind of rewire myself. I'm so used to the Jazz being this defensive stalwart, and they're not anymore. They're quite the opposite. So yeah, I think you could go Towns. I think you could go Bear. I wouldn't go both. And then if you're playing one of them, maybe run it back with Colin Sexton, because if that game stays close, that could be a sneaky good spot. And I'm curious what Kelly Olynyk did. Yeah, he sucked. Not the most surprising thing in the world. We saw Walker Kessler get extended run, I think. Yeah, 23 minutes. He hit a double-double. Maybe he's a decent punt you take a look at. Maybe he's a guy you watch on League Pass. But yeah, Markkanen looked better than he has in years. I don't mind him, but again, this game just doesn't scream like DFS to me. And I know there's a high total here, but yeah, I think it's guys like Russell. I think it's Colin Sexton in the backcourt, and then the two front court guys from Minnesota. But that's really it. Um, Moving right along, we have the Grizzlies at the Rockets, and this is probably one of my favorite games on the slate. John Morant, probably my favorite guard play on the slate. So let's start over here on DK. Yeah, we got Memphis, John Morant way up there. He had a great game. Desmond Bane looked good last time out. Yeah, Ja really seems locked in this season. It sounds like he wants to maybe compete for an MVP. Do I think he can? I don't know. But knowing that he's going to be that aggressive is a good thing for sure. Let's sort the index. Let's see where Ja's popping. Number one, baby. Let's go. So yeah, I love me some Ja Morant today. The model loves him as well, which is certainly not surprising. Yeah, I mean, if you're prioritizing payups for me, like you're looking at the entire slate as a whole, I think it's Jokic first, and then I think it's Ja second. So if I can fit both of them into a lineup, I'm going to be very happy. Let's see. We got 2250. Yeah, so we can, if I pull AO, put in Ja, pull Podal, put in Joker. What are we looking at here for a player? 6K each. Yeah, so I mean it's pretty easy to fit both of them on FanDuel. If I pull out a Halliburton, yeah, I mean it's a bit tougher. It's always a little tougher to fit two studs on DK, but I think it's possible. If we get rid of DeRozan, you could probably fit Joker in there, but I'll talk about Jokic when we get to that game. But yeah, John Morant, one of my favorite plays on the slate. Houston's going to be a little better this year, I think, for sure. But at the same time, I don't think they're going to be much better defensively. So yeah, all over John Morant here. I like Jalen Green and Kevin Porter. Not to compare them to like a Murray and a Trae Young, but it's kind of a similar situation in the mid range. I think you want one or the other, probably not both. I like Green a little bit better, but Porter's been the better DFS player. So I don't know, maybe go with Porter. Desmond Bane, certainly solid. Not always a guy who's shooting a lot, but if Dylan Brooks is out again today, that opens up a lot of usage because Dylan Brooks is his own number one fan, and he takes usage from Ja, he takes usage from this whole team, and he's a good player when he gets hot, especially for fantasy, but we have to keep an eye on that. He's listed as a game time decision. Personally, I really hope he's out, because I'd like to play Bane, I'd like to play Ja, and yeah, on the Houston side, we have guys like Jabari Smith, another potential rookie of the year candidate, I'd say. But yeah, he's priced way up on DK at 6K. Much more appealing on FanDuel. Wait, Jokic is okay. I was gonna say if he's power forward only, I might have to write an angry email. Um, but yeah, Jabari Smith at 4,800 on FanDuel, certainly a play I'm looking at. Sengun off the bench. If you ever see this guy starting, Alperen Sengun, he's always going to be someone I'm liking. Talented kid, just doesn't always get the minutes. But yeah, let's just recap this game quickly. I'm falling behind on time here. We got Porter, we got Bane, we got Green. They all look good. Jaws may be my favorite pay up on the entire slate, so keep that in mind. Really, really good game to target for DFS. Just keep an eye on that Dillon Brooks news. If Dillon Brooks is in, you might be able to play him. I probably wouldn't on an 11 gamer, but if he is in, it's going to take me off Bane a little bit. I'll still be loading up on Ja, but it would hurt his ceiling projection at least marginally. So keep that in mind. All right, we're wrapping up here. We got two more games. Denver at Golden State, maybe the best game on the slate, both from just a basketball standpoint and a DFS standpoint. The Nuggets are 6-point underdogs on the road. We're looking at a 229.5 point total. Where are we? The order is different between the two sites. So yeah, Jokic hurt his finger. I think he's going to be fine. We have to keep an eye on it. He's listed as probable. Wasn't really great his first game out against Utah, but did they blow them out? I'm guessing they blew them out. Nuggets, Jazz. Yes. And that's funny. Okay, so I was right that it was a blowout, but it went the opposite direction. So they just got Jamal Murray back. They're still trying to get used to having him in the lineup. Jokic himself said, "Hey, I think we're gonna suck for a little bit, but that's okay." But yeah, I think we see them bounce back tonight. I think Jokic bounces back tonight. Maybe the best fantasy play in basketball right now. Um, Love me some Nikola Jokic. I'd be curious how far down the model he is. Yeah, the fourth in index, really strong play. Over 11 in value on both sides. So I like him, obviously, if you can afford him. If let's use this as the tiebreaker. If Dillon Brooks is out, I'd say Ja's my favorite pay up. If Dillon Brooks is in, Jokic is my favorite pay up. If I can fit both, I'm going to. And then I really like DeRozan on DK as well, kind of in that range. But that's kind of how I'm slicing things today. So we'll just go position by position for both teams. Really just trying to speed up at the end here. Curry's always a good play. High ceiling, low floor for his price though. So I prefer him in tournaments. Jordan Poole at 6K. I like. Not playing much Clay right now. He just doesn't really seem like himself to me. Well, let's take a look at the prices over here. Yeah, 10K for Curry. Not terrible. I like Poole at 6,200. That might be my favorite Warrior. But yeah, I mean, Denver's good defensively. I just don't really. That's the tricky thing about these Warriors. It's knowing which guy you want to target. I think obviously Curry's the high ceiling play, but guys like Wiggins are going to be better point per dollar. Not playing Draymond right now, personally. And then this front court's a mess. So yeah, Steve Kerr's kind of limited all their minutes. I think guys like Curry and Wiggins are still going to see around 30. Poole as well coming off the bench, so you don't have to worry too much about them. But as far as the value guys go, it's really tough for me to want to rush to get to them. And then on the Denver side, it's really Jokic. But yeah, let's see. Let's see the prices. Maybe someone will stand out. I mean, Michael Porter, how many minutes did he play? At 5,400, that's a pretty good play. He's playing full minutes, 35 minutes. Yeah, Michael Porter. Let's fire him up. I like him a lot on both sides. Here's a lineup. We're not allowed to give away lineups on YouTube, so I'm going to delete some of these guys just for that reason. But yeah, you guys know who I like. But yeah, Jokic and Porter for me on the Denver side. I like them on both sides. And this is a really good game environment. Jokic being one of my favorite plays on the slate. I like Curry in tournaments, but I wouldn't use him in cash due to how dependent on scoring he is. Last and final game here, guys. I just want to thank you all again for bearing with me. This is my first video with Occupy. I kind of hope to improve everything, honestly, my cadence and just the interface. I know I'm just a head in the corner right now, clicking through screens, but I will get some better interface at some point this season. And yeah, guys, feel free to at me at Nick Marro DFS on Twitter. I'm going to get more involved in the Occupy Discord over the coming days, but there's already a group of guys in there that crush it. So subscribe, get on the site, get access to the model. We have updated injury reports throughout the day. You'll see ownership projections pop up as well. So valuable in NBA DFS. If you're trying to decide between two plays, go with the lower owned guy in most cases, unless you're playing cash games. But yeah, just a great site, great group of guys, really sharp team. Can't say enough good things about them. But yeah, final game here. We have the Suns at the Blazers. Suns are -4.5 going into Portland. The Trailblazers are healthy for the first time in a long time. But let's start on the Sun side here. And let me check injuries. Yeah, so Crowder doesn't want to play anymore, so he's out. Landry Shamet's out. Not exactly a needle mover. And then Portland. Sorry, Watford, Payton. So yeah, there's injuries, none all that significant. If we're just going by the index here, we see Devin Booker popping. Certainly a good GPP play. There's just so many good guards today that I don't really think I need to rush to get to them. Dame, this is kind of a tale of two prices. So 9,500 on DK, I really don't have much interest. But if we're looking at only 8K on FanDuel, yeah, I like some Dame Lillard at 8K. Definitely a decent option. Let's see here. Jeremy Grant looked really good in his Blazers debut. I think you could take a look at him. 6,700. Not too much meat on the bone at that price, but he's going to be playing 35 plus minutes. Josh Hart looked good. Yeah, I mean, this is a decent game for fantasy. I don't think many people are going to go here. A lot of people kind of perceive the Suns to be this amazing defensive team. And while they are good defensively, I think without Crowder there now, I mean, Bridges is a really good defender, but he can't cover all these guys. So I think you could get some decent fantasy looks out of Portland here. But yeah, on the Phoenix side for me, it's really just Booker. I don't hate Bridges, but yeah, I don't know. Not really a play I'm rushing to get to. He's one of these guys who kind of need the blocks and the steals. Cam Johnson's really cheap with Crowder gone. I think he's a decent play, but again, there's going to be value on this slate, guys. Obviously, NBA, half of it is just keeping up with the news. And again, hop in Discord. We'll help you do that. But yeah, let's see here. I don't think there's any like must plays from this game. I do like Dame. I do like Jeremy Grant. Anthony Simons' price is way up on DK. I don't really want to go there. I don't mind Josh Hart. This is just a wide range of outcomes player. Could get you single digits, could hit 8x. But yeah, that's kind of tricky. But yeah, just to recap, guys, a lot of good mid-range guards today. We got John Morant and Jokic as my favorite spend-ups. Isaiah Hartenstein is a value play I'll be looking at. Trey Jones is a value play I'll be looking at. Let me just sort by value quick and see what we have popping. Yeah, not too high on Fernando. Even if he starts, he's a decent option. But yeah, a couple guys I missed. I mean, Santi Aldama, he looked amazing for Memphis. If Brooks is out again, I think we could go there. Let me just quickly touch on that again. I kind of glazed over Memphis more than I wanted to. Yeah, Aldama and Conchar would both be interesting for me here if Brooks is out again. Just checking out prices. Wow, Fernando did his thing, huh? I guess he's in play more than I want to admit. But yeah, Aldama looks good here for sure. Conchar, scoring dependent guard. But these are good value plays, guys. If you need value, maybe go to this Memphis-Houston game. You got Fernando on the Houston side, and then Aldama and Conchar on the Memphis side. But again, my name is Nick Marro. You can get me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. I'm here with Occupy Fantasy. like, subscribe. Please like and subscribe the video. It helps us get to the top of these algorithms so you guys can see more of us and we can do more stuff like this for you. But 11 game slate, guys. Make sure you keep an eye on that news. Let's have some fun tonight and make some money. Good luck, everyone.